And welcome everybody to today's exciting episode.
Why don't bees leave the hive in winter? Swarm.
And I was going to go,
That's a good one. Also, sounds like a bee. I like it. What is a bee flying backwards? Zub zub.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
Well, that's enough of dad jokes today.
Yeah.
Or is it?
Is it?
We don't know.
Be, might not be. Never know.
We might get a few pop up. Who knows? Because today we're having a more relaxed, cool podcast today. No stress, no dramas, no me frantically looking through my notes. It's all...
Have you got them all in order today?
No.
No. Oh,
they're complete opposite, Pirate.
Does it matter?
It doesn't matter. I've left it to fate.
Oh, okay.
So, if anything, my notes are in complete wrong order.
Disarray.
But you know what? I'm feeling very zen today. I'm feeling very good.
You're looking very zen.
Yeah, I'm chilled,
You're very
man.
happy with your yellow hat on.
You know what? I discovered the colour combination of blue and yellow, and I really dig it, man.
Yeah?
It reminds me of Wolverine from X-Men 97.
Oh, I was going to go blue sky, yellow sun, serene.
That's too happy. I draw the line.
Oh, sorry.
That's too much zen for me.
I even made our little moon lamp yellow, match your hat.
Yeah, and Yoda.
Before you turn up, actually.
Yeah.
I was precognitive.
Yes, precognitive.
That's a word that you didn't think you'd hear today.
Cognitive means to function, right?
This kind of brain function. Yeah.
Yeah, that works. I was half right. I'll take it. But no, we're going to leave today up to fate. I thought we'd have a conversation about all things fate.
Oh, fate.
Yeah, because I wanted to do invisible string theory and then kind of quickly worked out that it's kind of a 5-minute subject.
Right, okay.
So I tied in with invisible string theory, like large coincidences and things like not miracles, but, you know, big coincidences that have happened and stories of that.
Like serendipity.
Exactly like serendipity, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
cool.
Happy
I'm
accidents.
glad that we managed to get that word in. That's a cool word. I like serendipity.
It's a fancy word.
It is. There's a film, but I can't remember what it's like.
John Cusack and Kate Beckinsale.
Okay, well done.
Rom-com.
Definitely a chick flick.
It's got to be mid-90s, I imagine.
Yeah, something like that.
And yeah, I think we could probably all play that out in our brains now, couldn't we?
Yeah.
Two people, they're not meant to be together, but they end up together.
Somehow, against all odds.
Yeah.
End up.
There's probably a car crash in there at some point.
Possibly. A wedding, definitely.
Yeah. And it's all...
And a bad breakup. There's got to be a bad breakup in there.
100%. Yeah. And after this episode, I'm going to look up the synopsis and see how accurate we are with that. But it all comes back to fate, basically.
I'd say fate shines on you for that one.
I
reckon it's good. I know I've seen the film once, but I can't remember it.
Okay.
I can't honestly remember it. It's like, I'm pretty sure it's like every other chick flick out there, every other rom-com.
Yeah.
I'd say that synopsis is fairly accurate.
The rom-com I want to watch is Love Actually. Never seen it. Heard
Neither
good
have I.
things. Never seen
All
it.
I've seen is the little clip where he stands at the doorway dropping cards on the floor.
Yeah.
That's all I know about that film.
Too much effort for my liking. I don't even think I love my own wife as much.
I can imagine that it's not too much effort to drop the cards and do that bit. It's just the writing out of it all to start with, isn't it?
Yeah.
The homework part.
I'd probably get bored and just text my wife rather than go through all the effort of signs. It's too much.
I can understand that one.
But then a lot of stuff in rom-com, I think a lot of blokes probably wouldn't be asked to do that.
No. Rom-coms are probably the most unrealistic films ever.
Yeah.
Including Star Wars.
Well, I mean, with Star Wars, everyone forgets that Leia kissed her own brother. So
Yeah. Yeah, there were some touchy subjects in Star Wars.
Yeah.
But we're not talking about Star Wars today.
No, it's unfortunately not, mate. No.
Or Serendipity as a film.
No. I'm just going to go into it. Fate, invisible string theory, coincidence. So let's start with invisible string theory because that is the quicker one. So invisible string theory is the idea that we are tied to certain people and destined to have them in our lives at some point.
Oh, like me and you.
I knew you were going to say that.
It is though, isn't it? Because it's like I first
of.
moved over to this end of the country.
Here we go. I know you're going to say this.
You know the story as well. I first moved over to this end of the country, decided to join some rock bands and stuff, just to try and make friends and meet people and stuff like that. Now, one of the bands that I joined, the members wanted to go to a gig in Bury St Edmunds.
Ah, yes. This is a good example, yeah.
To see Def Havana.
Yep.
Who were headlining that gig.
They were, yeah.
They were one of 3 bands.
Yeah.
Who was playing in the first band that night, Josh?
That was my band.
It was your band. We didn't even know each other, we were in the same building, admiring the same music.
Yeah, very true.
Also, my missus is related to the original guitarist from Death of Havana. So there's another string.
And I was actually good friends with
him
as well. So, yeah, it all kind of turned out full circle. So I get what you mean. That is a very good example.
Yeah, see? The podcast was always meant to happen.
And that is actually one of my claim to fame that I kind of forgot about was the fact that the band I was in supported Def Havana.
Yeah?
And supported Lower Than Atlantis at one point as well. So if people have heard of them, that's my claim to fame. So yeah, that is a very good example. I've got a couple of other examples as well of people being brought together with fate. But first, I just want to quickly mention that the invisible string theory, there's a little bit of history.
Oh.
It comes from an ancient Chinese proverb, and it originally means, it's just called the heartstring theory, or the red thread of fate. And some people also call it the strong cosmic link that binds 2 souls.
Ah, okay.
A feeling of meeting before or knowing them forever. So all examples there of where it comes from, ancient Chinese proverb. But yeah, a couple of stories. I've got one. I said to you about it before. There was a woman who went to buy a car, and as she turned up, the guy that she was buying it from said, "Sorry, I've just sold it." She was gutted because it was her dream car.
Yeah.
A year or 2 goes by. She's actually, I looked it up after I'd told you the story because I wanted to get the facts right. A couple years later, she then is driving to a festival, a music festival.
Yeah.
And she gets hit into by another car, and it is the car that she went to buy. Not only that, the guy that was driving the other car was the same age as her. They went to the same school but didn't know each other. And then they started dating because they got in each other's insurance details and everything. Then went to the festival, so left her car at the side of the road because his car was still able to drive. They then spent a lot of time at the festival together, started dating and everything, and now they're happily married, and it's been like 8 years.
And they named their kid after the car?
Yeah, baby. Baby Toyota Yaris. Yeah. Are the mics okay? They seem a bit quiet. Are they all right?
The mic is fine. I don't like. It seems to have happened. What I was getting the other week, where the other week my voice only seemed to appear in one headphone, and now that's happened to you. Although my voice now seems fine since I replaced my lead.
Oh yeah, so it's just when I talk I'm missing.
Yeah,
this.
I'm missing it on my right ear.
Ah, that's all right.
It'll come out fine.
That's
it's recording in mono, so it'll be fine.
Nice.
I can see the waveforms.
I can see the waveforms. That sounds like
I have a
great
weird
song.
Well, it's not. I don't know if it would class as a coincidence, but a weird story. That do you remember the film? I think it was out in the 1990s. Kevin Costner film Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Oh, I do.
And the Bryan Adams song that accompanied it.
Everything
Right.
I do it for you.
That's the one.
Yeah.
But I swore at the time when that was released that I'd heard it before. And my sister
Yes.
didn't believe me, but I was able to sing along, reciting all of the lyrics, even though I hadn't heard it.
Yes, you've mentioned that to me before. Yeah,
Have
yeah.
I?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think you're right about that because
Well, I don't know if that would be kind of some weird kind of Mandela effect, but yeah, I already knew
Yeah.
that song because I was like, oh, is it a cover version? And my sister was like, no, it's literally just been.
it's like its most famous song.
Yeah, and I was like, no, I've heard it before. And she was like, where?
Yeah.
How could you
And
possibly
you don't know
have
where
heard
you
that?
heard it
No,
before.
but I could sing along with it, having never actually learnt the words.
That's amazing. Maybe you are heartstringed to Bryan Adams.
Maybe serendipity.
Yeah.
Me and Brian,
Meant
we're
to
like
be
that.
I've got another couple of examples of invisible string theory. So I'll tie these two together. Basically, there's a big part of this. When I was doing the research, there's a lot of people that are now married with kids, lived a whole life together, and they've gone back through old photos. And when they were kids, the other person is in the background. So
Oh yeah, you mentioned this the other day.
there's
yeah.
two famous ones where one was I'll get the order wrong whether it was a guy or a girl, but either way, one of
I
them.
think you said it was a girl.
So there was a girl that went to Disneyland,
Yeah.
and her husband was in the background, and they were both like
They were
kids.
both in pushchairs or something.
Yeah,
weren't
it
they?
was
Yeah,
like
yeah.
kids, and it was because he recognised his mum and dad, like his parents, in the
Yeah,
background, and they were probably both like 5 or 6 or something, and then they ended up meeting and getting married, and it wasn't until they were already like 20 years into marriage that they'd found that photo. So that's kind of cool. And then there was another one that was very, very similar, but it was a holiday to Rome in Italy. So they weren't toddlers. So it was, I think one of them was on a gap year for uni, and
Right.
the other one was on like a lad's holiday or something.
Okay.
And she was in the background as well, but they were like late teenagers, so 17, 18 or whatever. And then they met up and they were together for like 6-7 years, and then they saw the photo and was like, oh wow, we were actually in the same place at the same time, but 6-7 years beforehand.
That's not as cool as our story though.
with the band.
The band, yeah.
I've actually
Because we didn't realise that until just a few months ago either, did we?
No, it was a quite recent thing.
Yeah.
It is very cool. I've got personal stories as well that are as cool. So I've
go for
got me and my wife actually discovered that we've got a bit of
Have
invisible
you
string
got an
theory.
invisible string?
So there's actually 3 examples with me and my
Oh.
wife. So 2 of them are band related as well. So we both ended up going to Give It a Name festival in 2008.
Right.
And Fall Out Boy had a show in London or wherever it was. We were both at the same gig in the same place. And the spookiest one was Skeptic Louis, who we've mentioned several times on the show.
We've got to get him on at some point.
We are. I've spoke to him. He's coming on. We've got a great idea with him. Yeah, that's going to be one to tune into because that is going to be fantastic.
I believe he wants to argue with me.
Yeah. And
basically,
it's gonna be a pod for the ages. That one. Yeah, I've already spoke to him about it. He's keen. So then the third example was Skeptic Louis' sister Max. She had a party. She worked with horses and stuff back in the day, and she had this party, and she was like young, sassy, single. She was basically like, she was a really cool chick where she was like, I'm having a party, anyone can come along. Like she
one of those parties.
Yeah, like she didn't care. Like she was wild. So she had this party, invited us all along, and Chloe was actually meant to go to that party because her friend of a friend was friends with her and friends with Louis. So she was actually meant to go to this party, but then she switched her shift at work and didn't end up coming along in the end. So I should have actually met her at that party. And what's even
were
crazier,
you single at the time?
this is the crazy thing. that at that party, I was the only one that didn't like. I was single, and I didn't like hook up with anyone, or I was literally like watching TV and smoking cannabis or whatever, and it was quite funny because I was watching all my mates like get with like girls and like other friends and things like that.
You weren't feeling it that night,
and I wasn't feeling it, and it was almost like I felt like my person isn't here. Like I wasn't coming, and she was actually meant to go to that party. So that's a weird coincidence. And then the last one, I think I've mentioned it on the pod before, so I'll quickly go through it in case I have. Okay. But one of the big like coincidences, it's not necessarily invisible string theory because it's not between two lovers, but my mum and her best friend, they've known each other since they were age 3. So they've known each other a long, long time. So we called her Auntie Noddy because she doesn't like her real name. So it has nothing to do with Noddy the cartoon.
When I saw Noddy on your notes and I could see like gigs and festivals and stuff like that, I was wondering if it was Noddy Older.
No,
from Slade, you know?
It's Christmas! Definitely not. No, my Auntie Noddy, she amazing woman. So she's got some really cool stories. She was a bodyguard for the Queen at one point. She was
really?
A policewoman. Okay. Yeah, real cool stories she's got. So my Auntie Noddy, she got sent out to Canada to be a policewoman, with my uncle who was also working with Rolls-Royce, and Rolls-Royce had like 2 places. One was in London, I think the other one was in Canada.
Right.
So either way, she gets sent out there, and my mum and Noddy are the best of friends. You know, since the age of 3, they speak pretty much every day. So my mum was a policewoman over here in England. My auntie's been sent over to Canada. They hadn't seen each other for like a few years. Yeah. Obviously, both being police women, careers get busy. Yeah. Blah blah blah. So they finally arranged to meet up, and my mum was flying over to Canada. She gets to the airport and she thinks, "Oh, I probably should get her a gift. You know, I haven't seen her for a while." So she walks into the perfume shop and she says, "I'm all out of ideas. What have you got?" And this woman recommends this certain perfume to my mum, and she smells it and says, "Yeah, I think she'll like that. That
smells
lovely.
like Noddy."
Yeah, it smells like Noddy. So she buys the perfume. My auntie, crazy enough, did the same thing. So she was on the way to get my mum, throwing the pen at me. That's how excited I am. She was on the way to the airport to get my mum.
And thought the same thing. I should get her a gift.
Stopped off.
Got the same perfume.
The perfume, and my mum and her literally met up at the airport, got all the way back to the house and said, "Oh, I got you a gift," exchanged it, and it was the exact same perfume. And I think little stories like that I absolutely love. Yeah. And it's amazing. So I've got some examples here as well of, I'm trying to kind of going into like coincidences and stuff now. And because that's pretty much it to invisible string theory. Also, when it comes to fate, I don't know if you're the same. If there's something that I really want to buy, like tell me if I'm alone on this, but I always say like, I'll leave it up to fate. So prime example, if I go into whatever, a shop, it could be new trainers, whatever it is. You know, say I'm looking at the new Vans and they're green and black.
I'll leave that up to the fate of my old shoes, to be honest. But I know what you mean. Yeah.
So if I go into a shop and they're like, "Oh, we've got 1 pair left," and then a part of me is like, "Oh, do I need new shoes? They're so cool." I'll leave it to fate. So I'll say to Chloe, like, "Let's go do some shopping. Let's have some lunch. And if on the way back to the car, they're still available, I'll buy them and I'll leave it up to fate." So it's kind of 50-50 because if there's 1 pair left, someone else might buy them.
They could do.
Because size 11 is a very popular shoe.
Well, yeah.
And if not, I'll get them. So sometimes I'll leave stuff to fate. But I just thought I'd mention that because
sometimes I try and push fate. If you're on Amazon.com or whatever and you're looking for whatever it, like you say, shoes or whatever, and it goes, "Oh, we've only got 1 of these left in that size," or "Buy it now."
Yeah. That reminds me of Harvey Dent from Batman. Do you remember? And he's flipping the coin. Like someone will ask him a question, and he'll be like, "Oh, let's let fate decide," and he'll flip a coin, and then you find out both sides of the coin have heads on them. So he's actually making his own fate.
Yeah,
so,
see? Clever.
Yeah. Right, so let's just go into some coincidences. Should we, while it's kind of fresh on our mind, should we mention the weird one? Because I didn't really understand it, so I showed you the video.
Yeah. The Donald Trump one.
Yeah.
Let's go for it. Why not?
So let's fill in the gaps together. So in 1888,
there was a book written.
Yes,
was it Ingersoll
Lockwood?
That was him, yeah. And he wrote a book about someone called Baron Trump.
Yeah, it was called Baron Trump's Marvelous Underground Journey.
Yeah. Okay, so Baron Trump went to Russia so that he could go
with his mentor called Don.
Yes, with his mentor called Don. So yeah, he travelled to Russia where he went through a portal to the underground kingdom.
Yeah. And then later on,
then this in book 3, or so I think he said, he then applied, or he ran for president. He was met by a lot of skepticism because he wasn't a politician. He was just a very wealthy man.
Yep.
But he won the election, became the president.
Yep.
Sorted out the infrastructure and the economy.
Yep.
And then I can't remember.
And then it went on to say, we're probably butchering
this. We are butchering this.
The guy that wrote the book was around the same time in New York.
Yes.
And it was set in New York as well.
With
the Trumps, it was set in New York.
That's right, yeah. No, he was friends with Nikola Tesla.
That's it, yeah. And Nikola Tesla died in 1943.
But Nikola Tesla was good friends with Donald Trump's uncle.
John Trump,
that's it, yeah.
And then there's rumours or a conspiracy theory that Nikola Tesla had worked out time travel.
Yes.
And he had 38 trunks of information, diagrams, all of this information.
But he returned 35 of them, saying it was useless information, it wasn't nothing, but kept hold of 3.
Yeah.
Very conspicuous.
So it's rumoured that the Trumps are time travelers.
It's rumoured, yeah. Or the other theory was the book in 1888 written as a prediction for the future?
Yeah. Who knows? But a weird coincidence, nonetheless.
It is a weird coincidence, yes.
I want to go into that so bad, but it's such a good one. I might leave that one. I'm going to go through a couple more rubbish ones. Well, they're not rubbish.
Keep you hanging on till the end.
Yeah. So there was another book in 1898, and
10 years later.
And it told the story of an ocean liner called Titan.
I covered this in our prediction episode.
Oh, what? And it was hit an iceberg?
Yes.
In the North Atlantic?
Yes.
And then 14 years later, the Titanic actually did do that?
I've got it in my notes.
Nice. I won't mention that
We did
anymore.
that in the predictions episode, like 2 years ago.
A weird coincidence here. So Stephen Hawking shares a birth date and a death date with Galileo and Einstein.
Oh, now that is spooky.
Collectively, 3 of the smartest men that ever lived. So
yeah.
There's not much argument that they're not the smartest people that ever lived.
Yeah, well,
really.
Isaac Newton should be in the list as well, I guess.
Yeah,
Leonardo da Vinci, but you can't have everything, can you?
Yeah, so I did look I fact-checked it because I wasn't too sure. I was like, no, there's no way. What it is so Galileo's, I want to get it right. So the same date that Galileo died, Stephen Hawking's birthday, and then...
Oh, is it like a triangle? Is it?
Yeah.
Right,
so it's like Einstein's birthday is then Stephen Hawking's death date. Something. It does work like a triangle.
Fair play.
weird coincidence. There was a guy.
Ménage à trois
Oh,
of birthdays and death days.
menage a trois, like a threesome. Oh. No, thank you, Einstein.
Are you sure? I have a very bushy mustache.
I didn't order broom service. Oh man, what?
Let's get off that thread. Go on,
Right.
let's go. Next one.
I thought this one was hilarious. Walter Summerford, a British officer, was struck by lightning 4 times throughout his life.
Right.
3 times when he was alive, and once when he was dead. And his gravestone is cracked into 4 places when he was struck the 4th time by lightning.
In his grave.
In his grave.
Wow.
That's a weird coincidence.
That is unlucky.
Yeah. This one is out actually for all the ladies and the cougars and the MILFs out there that like a bit of reality TV. They like a bit of, of drama. They like a bit of, what's the word? Like, I suppose it is just drama. They like that kind of, scandal or whatever.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So this story I found quite interesting. So there were a group of hairdressers. This was in England somewhere, and one of the hairdressers, the first client that comes in, is like a slightly elderly lady. Mm-hmm. She's getting her hair done, and she's talking about her life to this woman, and the next client comes in with the next hairdresser. So there's 3 hairdressers altogether. So the next client comes in, and she starts talking about this new boyfriend that she's got of.
I can already see where this is going.
8-10 months,
Right.
and she's like, "Yeah, I really love him, but there's just something quite off about him. I think he's cheating on me, whatever." So she's talking, basically confiding in the hairdressers. So they're
Right.
getting all this juicy gossip. The third client comes in with the third hairdresser. So you've got all 3 appointments all at the same time.
Okay.
The third woman comes in, and she starts talking about this new boyfriend that she's got,
Right.
saying, "Yeah, we've been together not too long, 8 to 10 months, but yeah, there's something not quite right about it. Like, I love him, but
So they're all saying the same story at this point.
all saying the same thing, basically. Well, the first woman was just kind of like happy on life, just talking about her life.
Oh, she's not suspecting him of cheating.
No, she was just the first
like,
client
okay.
in there. So
Yeah.
as the 2 other women start talking about it, the hairdresser and the first client kind of catch on. So they're looking at each other in the mirror thinking like, I think they're talking about the same guy here. So the hairdresser lady says to the other hairdresser, "Oh, I just need to have a quick staff meeting." So she calls the other in, and she's like, "Oh, are we all seeing this? Like, this is the same guy. Like, we need to say something.
Right,
Like,
yeah.
women unite kind of thing."
Girl power.
Yeah.
All right.
So they go back out, and they didn't want to do it themselves because it's obviously their job or whatever. So the first lady, the client, says, "I think you're talking about the same guy." The 2 women are like, "No, there's no way." So they start talking, and the timelines
What's
start
his
adding
name
up.
then?
Yeah, so they say, well, the first client lady, she says, "Well, why don't you call him and tell him there's been an emergency and come down, and both of you can confront him?" So then that's when the hairdresser says, "Well, let's make sure it's the right person. What's his name?" And at the same time, they both
say
said
the
John,
same name, yeah.
right? Then the first woman, the client, says, "What's his last name?" They then say it, and she goes, "That's my son." So all 3 of them at the same time, at the same appointment in the same hairdressers, all dealt with the same.
That's one space removed from what I was thinking. I thought that
Yeah.
you were going to say the first woman would say, "No, that's my husband."
Yeah.
But no, son, fair enough.
No.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, what the first client, what she actually said was when the 2 women said both names, she actually said, "Oh, that little." That's my son. So there's a big coincidence there. So I thought that was quite cool. So I've got 2 more really cool, interesting stories for you.
Okay.
So I'm going to go for this one. So Henry Ziegland, he was a man who broke off his engagement, and the fiancée that he separated from, she ended up taking her own life. So her brother...
That's not a happy accident.
Oh, no, you wait for it. You wait for it. So her brother then thought, I'm going to seek revenge for my sister, right?
Right.
So he tracked down Henry Ziegland,
Yeah.
found that he lived on a farm in the middle of nowhere. So he then goes over, finds him, shoots him in the head.
As you do.
As you do, gets his revenge, and then he turns the gun on himself because he doesn't want to get done for murder. His sister's already died. Yeah. Turns the gun on himself.
So, yeah, why not just wipe out the whole family then? Yeah.
However, Henry didn't die.
die.
The bullet grazed his head,
right,
and it got lodged into the tree behind him on his farm. Henry then goes on to live a perfectly normal life. He gets remarried.
I think I might have heard this story.
He has kids.
Yeah.
20 years goes by. His kids are all kind of grown up and everyone's adults. And he says, you know what? It's time to cut that tree down. Him and his son decide to go out, start cutting the tree down, but the wood is too tough. It's an old tree. So he gets the bright idea of getting 3 sticks of dynamite and blowing the tree up. Yep. They then set all this up and they stand 50 meters away, blow the tree up, and the same bullet
comes
flies
out of the tree and
straight through the head. And then he actually ends up getting killed by the same bullet that should have killed him 20 years previous.
Ago. Yeah, fair play. Yeah, I have heard that story before. That is absolutely nuts, isn't it? I mean, the fact that he didn't dig that. Because if somebody tried shooting me in the head and it just got lodged in a tree, I'd be digging that bullet out and keeping that as a keepsake, you know? The fact that he left it in the tree to then kill him 20 years later is just mind-boggling.
Well, I knew my notes being in the wrong order was going to trip me up. I forgot that I took 2 screenshots of some invisible string theories. I mean, it's typical Josh fashion, isn't it? I'll just run through them. So this is off your favourite website, old Reddit. So
a couple of Reddit ones. That's my new Facebook. Since I got hacked on Facebook, I don't have Facebook anymore. Reddit is where I hang out. Yeah.
So we've got one here. So my boyfriend and I met in 2022 on a dating website. He's from the Bronx and I'm from Connecticut. We've been dating for 10 months now, and we were talking about different concerts we've been to. We discovered that we were at the same free concert in Central Park in 2014, it lists here a bunch of rappers and other artists. He's going through old photos, and in one selfie he took with his friends, I'm directly in the background. Years later, in 2019, right before COVID, it turns out we were both interviewing for the same job at the same time for the same department for the same company. Still didn't know each other, and they almost ended up working together, and then they finally met and then got together. So there was 2 instances, a concert and a job interview, and then they still ended up getting together. So
it's got to be an invisible string, that one, yeah.
And then this one's a real quick one. So my fiance and I went to elementary school together, lived on the same block, on the same street, knew a lot of the same people, and rode the same school bus and never knew each other. I moved away and we went to different high schools. Then when we were 17 and 19, we met back through mutual friends. We've been together for 6 years. That's nice, isn't it?
Nice, yeah.
So enough of that mushy stuff. Yeah. I kind of regret going back to that, but it's all right.
You want to stop playing with that pen before you stab yourself in the eye or something?
No, because it's good for my ADHD LGBTQ.
So it's therapeutic,
yeah.
Okay.
Here we go.
You've thrown it at yourself once. That's all I was thinking.
It's just I'm so excited about love and fate and invisible string theory and coincidences and serendipity and all sorts, and I've had too much caffeine. So the next one.
You had a thimbleful.
Yeah, I had a coffee before I came out.
Oh dear.
I've slowly started to wean myself back onto normal coffee because I was a decaf boy for a long time.
Yeah, you haven't touched caffeine for ages.
Yeah, because I kept getting the jitters and things and heart palpitations, but now I'm slowly introducing caffeine. And it's okay so far.
And we're all getting the benefit of that today.
We are.
Right.
Have you heard of the conspiracy theory / big coincidence when it comes to Abraham Lincoln and John F. Kennedy? Does this ring any bells?
It does ring a bell. You probably might have told me at some point, but I can't remember what it is. So you might as well jog my memory.
This is, out of all the research I've done today, yesterday, this is by far my favourite one. The amount of coincidences between Abraham Lincoln and John F. Kennedy is insane, to the point where there's its own list on Wikipedia.
Oh, right.
And this is, and I have fact-checked it as well, and I will go through it because there's only 2 things that aren't accurate, which I'll cover at the end.
Okay.
But it's loosely connected, if that makes sense. But everything else that I'm about to read is 100% accurate. So, let's go. So, the following is the list of coincidences that are commonly associated with the conspiracy of Abraham Lincoln and John F. Kennedy. Lincoln and Kennedy each have 7 letters. That is fact. So,
right.
There's no conspiracy.
Wow.
There. Yeah.
That's groundbreaking.
Yeah, you wait for it. Both presidents were elected to Congress in 46 and later to the Christ, I can't get my
Can
words
you pronounce
out.
it?
Both presidents were elected to Congress in 46 and later to the presidency in 60. So it would have been
but
18...
different centuries.
Yeah, so 18...
okay.
this is exactly 100 years apart, these 2 presidents. So, 46 and then 60. Both assassins, so John Wilkes Booth and Lee Harvey Oswald, were born in 39 and were known by their 3 names composed of 15 letters, the people that assassinated the 2 presidents. Booth ran from a theatre and was caught in a warehouse. Oswald ran from a warehouse and was caught in a theatre.
Yeah.
The assassins were both Southerners. Both of the president's successors were Democrats named Johnson, with 6 letters in their first name, and both born in 08, so 1808, 1908. Yeah. Both Lincoln and Kennedy were particularly concerned with civil rights and made their views strongly known. Both presidents were shot in the head on a Friday and in the presence of their wives. Lincoln had a secretary named Kennedy who told him not to go to Ford's Theatre. Kennedy had a secretary named Evelyn Lincoln, and she warned him not to go to Dallas. Both Oswald and Booth were killed before they could be put on trial.
Yes.
And John Wilkes Booth's brother saved Abraham Lincoln's son from death. So the person who assassinated Abraham Lincoln, his brother saved Abraham Lincoln's son from death.
Wow.
All weird coincidences. Now, the only one that it says here is not accurate is the secretaries.
Oh,
so
yeah, Lincoln and Kennedy secretaries.
Yeah,
names or
it was the names. It was
or was one a secretary and another one was something else, like a clerk or something.
No, here we go. So, although President Kennedy did have a secretary named Lincoln, President Lincoln did not have a secretary named Kennedy. So, Lincoln's secretaries were John G. Nicolay and John M. Hay. But it is rumored, or when I looked on other websites, that he did have a secretary temporarily for a few months that was called Kennedy. Or whatever it was. I don't know. I'm getting confused myself with all this stuff.
Lincoln didn't try to go to the moon, did he?
No, he didn't.
No. So
but there's a
JFK,
few coincidences
far
there.
more cooler, in my opinion.
JFK is... Well, Abraham Lincoln and JFK, both, another coincidence, the most beloved presidents of all time.
Yes, definitely.
Both did really good things when they were in power as well. They both had wicked sideburns.
They did. And they again, two of the most beloved presidents, but 2 that were assassinated.
Yes. So what does that tell us?
What does that tell us? America's mad.
Yeah.
Beloved president. Yes, we all love him. Let's kill him.
Well, that's... I haven't covered it yet, have I? I was thinking I'd already done it. I haven't covered JFK yet.
Not yet. No, we're still waiting for those documents to be released. Or at least this far, anyway.
Yeah, my dad actually said that he cried when Kennedy was assassinated. That's how beloved he was. My tough as nails dad, who didn't say he loved me until I was 18, cried. The only time he cried in his life was when President Kennedy was killed in the 60s. It's the only time my father's cried.
My daddy didn't love me as much as the president.
Yeah, my dad was a tough SOB. He stitched his own eyebrow back on in
You told me,
World War II. Not World War II. He wasn't around.
Wasn't in World War II.
Gulf War or whatever it was.
I think you might have mentioned that in the pod, actually. Yeah.
But yeah, that's how beloved he was. He made a tough man like that cry. So, yeah. But that's all I got for you today. Just a random one about fate, invisible string theory, and coincidences. So I actually want to hear from people if there's any coincidences or invisible string theories that people know of or it's happened to them, personal accounts. Actually get in and write to us, because I would actually really like to read some of them out, because I find it absolutely fascinating, that kind of thing.
Yeah. It is.
It's actually one of my favourite things in life.
So I guess when we go to the paranormality scale this week, it's...
yes.
Do we believe in fate?
Yes! I was hoping you'd say that. Do we believe in fate, people? Do you? Do you?
Yeah, I guess I kind of do. In fairness, yeah, I think so.
Good, I'm glad.
For better or worse, I think, they're the interconnectedness of everything. You know,
yeah.
I've always been a big believer in it. So I'm gonna give it a happy accident 9.5.
9.5.
Yeah, that's how much I believe in fate. Louis the Skeptic will probably come on and disagree with me.
I don't know, because he has his own...
You make your own fate.
He has his own invisible string theory.
Oh, does he?
Yes. So his current girlfriend... First of all, I've never seen the guy happier. So his current girlfriend... I don't know if I'll mention her name. I don't know. I don't know if people are happy with being mentioned or not, so I won't say her name. But his current girlfriend, they were actual college sweethearts. They went to college together, always liked each other, but neither of them asked each other out or anything. They both went separate ways, both had other relationships and stuff, and now they're back together. But they always kind of stayed in contact as friends, and then something just clicked, and now they're together, they're romantically involved, and they've never been happier. So he's got his own invisible string theory. So that adds to the belief of fate. So, yeah, I think 9.5 is good.
I've got a converse story about that, or adverse story. When I was at school, there was a girl that used to sit next to me in geography class, I think it was. I won't say her name, because obviously, we don't want to do that.
Barry?
Everyone thought that we got together, because we got on so well.
Yeah.
And we'd always, if there was, a geography field trip or anything like that, we always paired up together, and we'd always, work together and stuff like that. Everybody thought we were going out. Never did. Yeah? Years later, she went out with my best friend.
Wow. So, do you think that maybe she was...
I think it would have been weird if we had got together and then she got with him later on. Yeah. So I think maybe fate stopped us from actually getting together so they could later on.
That's interesting. I like that. That's another cool little fate story there.
Weird little coincidence, that one, eh?
Yeah. Well, I'm also a big believer in fate. So I think, I also believe in karma as well. I think that kind of ties into it. And I think if you're good to people, then good things happen to you. And so you know what? I'm going to give it a 9.6.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Well, that gives us an average of 9.55.
Yeah.
I do believe.
I'm a big fan of fate. I like it. It's just nice. Maybe there's something in the air or there's something in the water, but I just think it's such a lovely subject.
Yeah,
and
it is.
It's just a nice thing. It's nice and positive. We've had a lovely time today.
And also, I'd like to bring this back to it on full circle. Back to Reddit.
Oh yeah, here
And
we go.
the coincidence is like all the time on Reddit. I go on there because I follow like podcasting and our podcasts and all these different subreddits about podcasting.
Yeah.
And on one particular, you always get every day, literally every day, multiple times a day, people coming on there going, "Can you suggest podcasts to me with a couple of lovable people that I can engage with?" Doesn't where they tell stories or tell some spooky stories, weird stories, anything like that. Can somebody recommend some podcasts to me? And then hundreds of people get on there recommending podcasts. All of the most popular ones that we always see at the top of the list, the leaderboards, if you like. And I've almost relented and it struck me the other day. Should I just go on there and go, yet another list we're not going to get on?
I see.
Right, because no one I've never ever seen one person recommend our podcast, and I'm not allowed to do it myself because that's self-promotion, and that's against the rules. So what I would like to ask as a call to action, I guess, is to any listeners that do frequent Reddit, go on to like the podcasting forum, and if anybody's asking for a good podcast to listen to, recommend us, please. Make my dream come true. And that would be a real happy coincidence, a real serendipity moment if someone would actually do that for us.
I like how you brought that full circle.
Thank you.
So yeah, I think that's a good call to action. Thanks everyone. Thanks for listening. Thanks for putting up with our wacky ideas and the shenanigans we get up to and the conversations. Some days like today, you just never know where it's going to lead, what we're going to mention. So it was actually quite nice to go down story lane and just tell a few stories, and hopefully you found it entertaining. And let's all take a moment to breathe and get into our Zen place, and wish you a happy podcasting day.
And until next week, I've been Pirate.
I'm Josh.
And this has been Paranormality UK. Ta-ta.
Ta-ta.